The release of Dead Space 2008 revitalized the horror genre within the gaming media. Naturally, Visceral Games sought to capitalize on that success by quickly releasing a sequel. And what a sequel it is. While the original Dead Space immersed players in its eerie, desolate world, Dead Space 2 takes a different approach, diving headfirst into the intense action without abandoning its horror roots. If Dead Space was the alien of gaming, then Dead Space 2 is its aliens, a masterful blend of horror and action.
Hello gamers, and welcome to Is It Scary, where I play scary video games so you don't have to. I'm Rob, and I've been a horror fan almost all my life, and I'm currently on a mission to play as many scary games as possible, new and old, indie and AAA. The subject of today's video is Dead Space 2, critically acclaimed upon launch, even earning some stellar reviews. However, it did receive some disappointing sales figures. And while Dead Space is often brought up in conversations about gaming masterpieces, Dead Space 2 seems to frequently be overshadowed by its predecessor, even sometimes being left out of these conversations completely. Why is that? And more importantly, for the sake of this video, is it still scary? Let's find out and get into the game.
Dead Space 2 opens with a flashback revealing that Isaac Clarke actually encouraged Nicole to take the ill-fated job on the Ishimura.
If it weren't for you, I never would have made it this far, because you made me stick with it.
We then transition to the present, where Isaac is being interrogated by government agents and haunted by vivid hallucinations of Nicole, a manifestation of his guilt, which renders him unconscious. Isaac awakens in a straitjacket on the Sprawl, a space station overrun by a fresh necromorph outbreak. After a brief encounter with Franco, the protagonist of Dead Space Ignition, Isaac is left alone to escape as Franco meets a gruesome fate. From this heart-pounding opening, the game plunges players into relentless survival as Isaac navigates the chaos of the outbreak in real time.
Now, when doing my research for Dead Space 2, I found out that Dead Space Ignition is some sort of interactive comic game that takes place before the events of Dead Space 2. Now, I won't be covering it here. I just found it hilarious that Dead Space 2 seems to unceremoniously kill Dead Space Ignition's main protagonist in the first few minutes of the game. Like, why?
Once you gain control of Isaac, the objective is simple: run. Unlike the aftermath-focused horror of the first game, this time around, Dead Space 2 places the player right in the heart of the outbreak. The game retains the dark, claustrophobic corridors, but also introduces well-lit, colorful environments, creating a tonal shift that feels fresh yet faithful to its roots. Nowhere else is this shift more noticeable than in the marketing for Dead Space 2, with the now infamous "Your mother will hate this game" adverts.
This game is an atrocity.
It's revolting. It's violent. It's everything you love in a game. And your mom's gonna hate it.
Now, don't get me wrong. Dead Space 2 did have normal adverts, like Bullet with Butterfly Wings by the Smashing Pumpkins, which I can't play here because, you know, copyright. Or my personal favorite, the Rorschach Test trailer.
Is he alive?
Isaac Clarke. I'm going to show you some images and I want you to tell me about them.
It was just a short bit.
Later, Isaac is contacted by a woman named Dana, who guides him to her location.
Miss Dana, I'm the one trying to rescue you.
Why? What's going on?
He is also contacted by another patient, Nolan Strauss, claiming he and Isaac can destroy the marker together. For now, Isaac ignores Strauss as he fights his way across the city to Dana. It seems Dana is holed up in the Church of Unitology.
Dana, the Church of Unitology? Why here?
It's one of the few places on Titan Station that Tideman can't monitor. Separation of church and state.
And it's here where the player is given a pretty in-depth background on the religion. This entire area of the ship deepens the lore of Dead Space. It's worth reading and listening to all of the files if you want to understand the in-game world better. Upon arriving to the upper suite, two guards seize Isaac as Dana reveals that she is a unitologist sent to recover Isaac, claiming that he is responsible for building the marker that is causing the current infestation, and that they need him to build more.
Well, that's why we brought you here. To build markers for us. To spread glorious convergence to the entire galaxy.
In this title's biggest bit of plot armor, they are about to leave when a gunship guns down Dana and her associates, allowing Isaac to escape uninjured. He is then immediately attacked by a giant necromorph and taken into a pretty epic action sequence. While Dead Space 2 upped the amount of action, making moments in the game feel more like a Marvel movie, one of the most noticeable changes in Dead Space 2 is Isaac's newfound voice and personality. No longer a silent protagonist, he speaks, argues, and interacts with other characters, adding some much needed depth to his journey.
Listen to me! We can both get out of here. Just cut me out of this straitjacket.
In Dead Space 1, he was a mute protagonist that didn't say anything. He always had his helmet on. You only got to see his face at the very beginning and at the very end. And it kind of covered up some of the personal elements of him. It was really more about what the player was imagining that he was thinking or doing or reacting to.
DS2, so new challenge arrived, was to create a different suit through the game and to be able to see the face of Isaac. Give him a personality and added more detail into the texture.
After the fiasco of Dana's betrayal, Stross contacts Isaac again. Reluctantly, Isaac decides to trust Stross, as his only mission now is to destroy the marker. He tells Isaac that the marker is located in the government sector under lockdown. As Isaac makes his way there, he comes across another survivor, Ellie Langford, a CEC officer who eventually joins their mission after deciding that she needs their help to survive. As they progress through the sprawl, the station's administrator, Tideman, throws several obstacles in their way in an attempt to stop them from getting to the marker. As the game progresses, we check in with Ellie and Stross from time to time. It seems that Stross's mental state is deteriorating.
Not ready for the needle again. You have to let me out. I can't breathe.
Stross, what's wrong? Ellie!
Later, Stross's dementia worsens to the point of full-blown insanity, leading him to attack Ellie. She survives, though she loses an eye in the encounter.
You owe me an eye, you bastard!
Shortly after the incident, Isaac meets up with Stross, who is fully compromised and forced to kill him in self-defense.
Oh God. Why did you do it, Stross?
Something I failed to mention much earlier is how the whole time Isaac is exploring the sprawl, he too is constantly experiencing hallucinations. Chief among them is his visions of Nicole. Nicole spends a majority of her screen time convincing him to face his guilt. As Isaac fights his way to the marker, his visions of Nicole become more vivid as she tries to deter him from his task. Eventually, he comes to accept that he cannot run away anymore, causing his vision of Nicole to become friendly and peaceful.
Step 4. Acceptance.
Also, something you may have missed while playing is the fact that at no point does the game cut away. Indeed, once you gain control of Isaac, all of this title's narrative progression happens as one long shot. The game's single shot presentation keeps players immersed, though it can be a bit of a double-edged sword for completionists like me who tend to miss key moments while looting.
A lot of games will basically make a movie, chop it up, and then put gameplay in between the bits of movie, right? For Dead Space and Dead Space 2, it was so important to maintain the immersive nature of that horror experience. We never wanted to pull people out and tell them, hey, you're watching a movie. We wanted people to always experience it as, hey, I'm in this movie.
We kind of came around to the idea of our video log system and the way that we approach those in-game storytelling moments. We really strive to make sure that the player has some degree of control during those sequences not cutting away means that we have to kind of contend with the fact that people could miss something. So we put a lot of effort in trying to craft those sequences to make sure that the player not only gets the key critical story element, but also feels like they're still attached to the game.
Now let me stop right here. I do want to commend Dead Space 2's developers for trying to make sure that everything is in your field of view, so you don't miss any of the story. However, if you're like me and you're a looter and you like to go around looting things while people are talking to you, there is a high chance that you would miss certain things because you weren't looking in the direction that you need it to be. That was a problem for me, but if you're not like me and you're just following for the story, the single long shot isn't a huge problem. But for somebody like me, I did miss a few key moments. Though the developers did make a conscious effort to make sure that everything was laid out in front of you, so you wouldn't miss too much. Sadly, for my greedy ass, it did break the illusion for me from time to time.
After an intense horde battle on the top of an industrial drill, Isaac and Ellie reach the government sector. In one of the saddest scenes in the game, Isaac sends Ellie away, alone on a gunship, in a bittersweet moment of self-sacrifice that doesn't really land for me. Earlier in the game, we learned that Ellie was saved by a friend named Caleb.
We're not gonna make it.
No. Get up, Caleb. It's just a few more meters.
I hear them coming. Don't kill us both, Ellie. Just run. I'll save you. Just go.
No, Caleb! Caleb!
This is Caleb from Shift 1. We lost.
In an event that mirrors that moment, Ellie is once again saved by a self-sacrificing friend. Trauma. I get it. Isaac is trying to stop his newfound friend from coming to any more physical harm. Sadly, in this moment, the emotional ones he creates run deep. Alone now, Isaac continues on to the marker, narrowly avoiding Tideman's men. In an absolute stroke of genius, rather than taking on the soldiers himself, he releases the doors holding back the necromorphs trying to get to the marker, who then overwhelm and slaughter Tideman's men. Isaac eventually comes upon the marker, which is surrounded by necromorphs. As Isaac looks on, the marker begins convergence, an event foretold by Scientologists.
I don't know, man. Look up the lore. I'm not that guy.
With his vision of Nicole guiding him, he comes upon the machine that unlocks the blocked off marker-infected parts of his mind, which Nicole claims will help him. He then fights his way to the marker, where he encounters Tideman, whom Isaac is forced to kill. Isaac approaches the marker when the vision of Nicole suddenly pulls Isaac into his own mind. There, Isaac encounters the parts affected by the marker and the Nicole vision, who then reveal that the only way to be reborn is to absorb the body and mind of the one who created it. After a lengthy battle, Isaac is able to destroy the Nicole vision and rid all traces of the marker's influence from his mind, destroying the marker in the process. Upon exiting his mind, Isaac takes a seat on the ground, accepting his fate as the marker's destruction leads to the total collapse of the station. When suddenly, Isaac receives a call from Ellie, who crashes a gunship through the ceiling. It seems Ellie refused to make the same mistake she did with Caleb. As the marker and station collapse around him, Isaac makes his way to the gunship and they escape. In the end, Dead Space 2 isn't just an action game, and it's more than just a survival horror game. It's a story of a man who has been seriously scarred by the events around him, and the toll that type of trauma can take on a person's overall mental stability. Not to mention the ending's message of hope. The premise alone makes it an interesting game. I think Visceral Game melds the survival horror and action elements well, with rewarding combat, twisted looking enemies, and huge set pieces in a world that is truly creepy. Throughout the game, hallucinations of Nicole become increasingly vivid, as she urges him to confront his guilt. These moments add a psychological horror element that distinguishes Dead Space 2 from the more straightforward action horror titles. Despite its efforts, however, the game leans more heavily on action set pieces than spine-tingling scares. The adrenaline-fueled combat often overshadows moments of genuine horror. With a runtime of 10 hours to complete the story, and just under 18 hours to 100% the game will have plenty of opportunities to creep you out. However, on a Screamometer, Dead Space 2 earns a 2 out of 5 screens. It certainly has horrifying moments, but the action-oriented approach dilutes the fear factor. Isaac feels more like an action hero than a horror survivor, which diminishes the game's scare potential. As a game, Dead Space 2 scores a solid 7 out of 10. Its unique setting, compelling story, and grotesque murder designs make it a standout experience. However, the repetitive scares and predictable moments distract from the overall impact.
Dead Space 2 is an incredible game, and I highly recommend playing it if you haven't already, even if I don't find it particularly scary. I think Visceral Games did a fantastic job blending the action with the horror into a very memorable experience. Despite Dead Space 2's disappointing sales, it actually did well enough to warrant a third installment. But we'll be taking a look at that in the next video. Which, side note, I promise this time you won't have to wait that long for it. And with that, I've been Rob, and you've been wonderful. Bye, gamers.